Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. And if you're new, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And if you enjoy the video, please hit the subscribe button. This way you'll be notified every time I post a new video. So I'm sorry this is coming at you a few days late. I was just having some extra problems with my health, and I always need to put my health first. So I really needed to rest, but now I felt able to film again, and I'm happy to be making this video. So I usually do beauty videos and horror videos, but I've always had in my channel description that I'm going to do 90s videos, but I hadn't gotten around to doing any yet, and I just felt like doing one, so I'm like, today is the day. So today's video is going to be about 5 forgotten shows of the 90s, and when I say forgotten, it just means they're not the most popular ones. For example, everyone knows about Friends and Saved by the Bell and Beverly Hills 90210, and Friends is still in syndication, and Saved by the Bell is on Netflix. But there are some other shows that, even though they had a fan base at the time, they're not as talked about anymore, and it's hard to access them unless you happen to like own the DVD. So, but they're really great shows that when someone brings the show up, suddenly all these good memories come flooding back. So I hope you enjoy this list. There's really tons of shows. There's like many more than what the ones I'm going to list. So maybe I can make this into a series. So let me know if you enjoy it. And a lot of the shows are a little bit youth oriented, geared more towards kids and teens and young adults in their 20s. But like I know plenty of people that were older than that still watch some of these shows and really love them as well. So let's get started. Number 5 on my list is California Dreams. So California Dreams, if you're not familiar with the show, it ran on TNBC from 94 to 1997, and it's a very similar show to Saved by the Bell. It actually had the same producers. But what makes it very different from Saved by the Bell is the fact that they're in a band in this show. The kids try to balance being in a band and school, and they hang out at this restaurant called Sharky's. And it's just a really lighthearted show. It starred Kelly Packard as Tiffany. You may recognize Kelly Packard from Baywatch. She actually did the 2 shows at once at one point, so she was a very busy bee in the 90s. And this was just a really good show. The theme song, oh my gosh, I love the theme. Was in a worse place with my health last year. I needed a lot of shows to watch, and I ended up watching all of these, and because they had not been run in syndication as often as Saved by the Bell, it was just really awesome to experience it all over again. I really didn't even remember all the episodes and such. So what happened is with the show, it started out as like kind of a family show. There was a family, and then like the son and daughter were also in the band. By the second season, the producers wanted to get rid of the family and just focus more on the teens only, because that was becoming a thing, providing programs for tweens and teens and young adults. So a lot of the cast from season 1 was not in season 2, at least the family and the one daughter, I believe, and then the son stayed but eventually would go away. So the character of Tiffany, as well as the character of Tony and Sly. Sly, if you remember, was supposed to be the dork and was kind of annoying. He was their manager, but he was actually really good looking in reality, so it was kind of funny. So they were in the show from the beginning, and it became more centered around them as time went on. And then they added the characters of Lorena, Jake, and Sam, right? Samantha is the last character. And it's just a great show. The characters had great chemistry, and the songs they would play on the show for their band were actually really good songs. They should have made a CD out of it, because some of the songs are really, really good and really entertaining. So I think besides Saved by the Bell, it's kind of like the second most remembered show from that teen NBC era. There's also more shows such as Hang Time and City Guys, but California Dreams always had like a special place in my heart. Did it have a special place in yours? Let me know. So the next one I want to talk about is Teen Angel, which ran only from 97 to 98 and was part of TGIF. So Teen Angel was a show starring Mike Damas, who, oh my gosh, I had the biggest freaking crush on him in the late 90s. I thought he was so freaking cute. Did anyone else have a crush on him? Definitely let me know in the comments. So Mike Damas played a character named Marty, and Marty in the first episode ate a 6-month-old cheeseburger, and then he died and came back as a teen angel to kind of be like his best friend's guardian angel. And his best friend's mom was actually played by Maureen McCormick, who's famous for being Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch. So that was like a little extra thing that me and my mom both enjoyed. And it was a light show, a little silly in some ways, but I just really, really enjoyed it. And a lot of my friends and peers enjoyed it, so I don't know why it got canceled, but I guess it didn't get the same ratings as some other TGIF hits. But we just really loved it. And there's also Jordan Brower, who is also a late 90s, early 2000s actor. He got like little parts in several shows and movies. He was in it as well. So it has a fond place of memory with me and my group of friends. Let me know if you remember it, and do you agree that it should have got canceled, or do you wish it would have stayed on the air? Next, we're going to talk about Clueless, the TV show, because we would never forget Clueless the movie, as if. So Clueless is like an iconic movie that's still quotable till this very, very day. But there was also a Clueless TV show, which some people tend to forget about, and some people might not even know about. So the Clueless TV show ran from 96 to 99. First it was on ABC, and later it was on the UPN network. So the UPN, if you don't know what that is, it actually no longer exists. The UPN and WB were two different networks in the 90s, and they eventually merged and are now the CW, which is a channel that kind of got on the map thanks to Gossip Girl. So that's a little bit of a lesson in TV history if you're a younger person, or if you just didn't realize that. So Alicia Silverstone, who obviously played Cher in the original, she was more interested in doing films, and she did not want to be in this TV show, which is pretty understandable because her career was kind of on fire at that point. But some other original cast members did return. Stacey Dash, who played Dion, as well as Donald Faison, who played Murray, and I always have trouble saying this girl's name. I think it's Eliza Donovan. She played Amber. She returned as well. And Sean, who was a character that only had like one line, I believe, in the movie. He was the guy who was shaving Murray's head in the bathroom when Dion got mad at the party. So he only had one line in the movie, but he actually ended up getting a big part in the show. So that was pretty awesome for that actor. So because they didn't have Alicia Silverstone, they needed a new Cher, and it wound up being Rachel Blanchard, who was actually a pretty popular actress in the late 90s and early 2000s. She was in the Rage Carrie 2, but my favorite role of hers besides this was in the movie Sugar and Spice. It's an early 2000s kind of indie flick about a cheerleader who gets pregnant, and her squad rob a bank and get away with it. It's really funny. It's a dark comedy. If you like dark comedies, or if you like Mina Savari, and I can't think of this actress's name, but she plays Gia on Full House. If you like those actresses or dark comedies or both, I think you would really love that movie. But anyway, back to the show. So it differed from the movie in some ways, and was obviously like not as iconic as the movie, but it was enjoyable in its own right. Because you gotta remember, for people around my age especially, Clueless was not just a movie, it was like a lifestyle. Like, the clothes in that show and the phrases in that show really changed the way people dressed and talked. So it was nice to have that TV show with us for several years, even though it wasn't quite as good as the movie. So what did you think about the show? Did you watch it, and were you upset that it was made, or were you happy that it was made? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The next two shows on my list are a little bit more serious in subject matter, and I think they're both very important shows, especially this one I'm about to talk about, because I think it paved the way for some other shows. So I'm talking about My So-Called Life, which ran on ABC from 94 to 95. It only had one season. I believe that there were 19 episodes, but it impacted me and so many young people, teens, young adults, middle schoolers, whoever. Affected so many people and stays with people to this day. So it was a little bit doomed from the start, because I don't know why they gave it this time slot. It was up against Friends, Mad About You, Martin and Living Single, which were both really, really popular shows in 1994. I used to watch Martin and Living Single a lot because there wasn't as many, besides TGIF, there wasn't as many like teen and like young people programs that solely focused on teens in the early 90s. Like there were some, but not many. So you had to usually watch shows with adult cast. It was just the thing. And as the 90s went on, there became more and more shows that were primetime shows that were focused on teens. So it had that really rough time slot. And I think it was also just a little bit ahead of its time because it dealt with like so many issues that were just people didn't like talking about back then. Homeless youth, homophobia, abuse. It went there. It wasn't afraid to go there, and I love that about that show. It just was not afraid. So the show starred Claire Danes, who is very famous to this day, as Angela Chase, and she was just such a relatable character. She wasn't perfect or popular. She was just like your average girl who so many young girls can relate to. And then her best friend was Rayanne, played by AJ Langer, and then her other best friend was Ricky, played by actor Wilson Cruz, who was gay in real life, and he was also played a gay character on the show. His character was 15 and gay, which in the 90s, that was like, wow. Like it wasn't common. I know now it's super, super common, but it was not common. So that was very brave of him, and they were just definitely trying to break some barriers, and I think it was awesome. And I mean, everyone gives Ellen like a lot of credit for like helping gay people have more parts on TV, like gay characters. And she deserves that credit, definitely deserves it. But I think Wilson Cruz and the character of Ricky also deserve it because this wasn't even an adult. This was like a 15-year-old character that had to deal with being gay at a time where gay people weren't accepted as much as they are today. So I just think it was really cool. And I love Wilson Cruz. He's worked very steadily over the years, and he even had a very small part in 13 Reasons Why, which did not surprise me one bit because he's never shied away from roles that in shows that just go there. And then of course Jared Leto, Leto or Leto, I feel like I always say it wrong, but he played Jordan Catalano, who was Angela's crush and everyone's crush. He was just so good looking in the show. And I mean, he's amazing. He's done so many things over the years. His part in the Dallas Buyers Club was fabulous. So I loved the show. We were so angry when it was canceled because it was such a good show, and having all these more serious topics was really interesting because life is not light, so there should be shows that teens can relate to with these tough things. And I think a lot of people related to Angela and Rayanne's problems, and then so many kids that were gay but maybe were afraid to tell their parents. I think they really could relate to Ricky. So unfortunately it was canceled. Fans even tried to get it back with a petition, but by that time Claire Danes' parents thought that movies were a better thing for her to do. I guess they made her book the movies around her schooling, whereas with television shows she was like forced to film and get like an on-set tutor. So yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. But I think that's pretty amazing still to have 19 episodes and go down as a show that just affects so many people several decades later. I think that's awesome. So I own it on DVD. Did you watch it when it was first on? Have you watched it since? Did you not watch it when it was first on, but you've watched it on DVD? Let me know what you think of the show in the comments, because me and most of my friends from the time just thought it was excellent. The last show on my list, it was on from 1999 to 2001 on the WB, which I mentioned before is no longer around. This show is called Popular, and this one, like a lot of people seem not to remember, but I watched it religiously. It was actually Ryan Murphy's, the first show he created, and oh my gosh, now that he's done so many other things like Nip Tuck and American Horror Story and Glee, like it's so Ryan Murphy, this show, but because it was his first thing, we really didn't know who Ryan Murphy was. So it was a show about two girls. Leslie Bibb, that's her name, played Brooke, who was a popular cheerleader, and then Carly Pope played Sam, who was kind of, I think she was a journalist. She was on the newspaper at school, and she was not so popular, and their parents ended up getting married, and they had to live together, and at first they couldn't stand each other, and their two groups were kind of rivals at school, but as the show went on, they kind of teamed up, and then their groups kind of like merged, and people who were not popular were becoming popular, and some popular people were struggling to stay popular. And it was a drama, and it was funny. It was like, it dealt with a lot of serious issues, just like the show I mentioned before this. It dealt with homelessness, pregnancy, losing your virginity, LGBT rights. I think like I almost said it wrong. Teens with cancer, eating disorders. Yeah, it just dealt with a lot of stuff, but at the same time, there's a lot of satire in it, and it was very funny. So it somehow managed to do both these things, which once you learn about Ryan Murphy, you're not surprised that it pulled it off in such a way that it could be serious and funny at the same time. Some of the funny parts were a little bit over the top, but it just kind of worked, and the characters were lovable. There was Mary Cherry, who was like this fashionista rich cheerleader who was kind of all crazy and out there, but I just loved her. There was a character, Nicole Julian, who was like the typical mean girl. And then Ron Lester, who also played Billy Bob in the movie Varsity Blues, he was in the show. He was a popular football player, even though he was heavy. And he dealt with his weight on the show. And then in real life, he eventually got gastric bypass surgery, but it did not go well. And he suffered a lot of kidney and liver complications over the years. And sadly, last year, at just 45 years old, he passed away from these liver and kidney issues. And I was really sad about it because I really loved him in Popular and in Varsity Blues. And there was Harrison, too, who was kind of a guy that both Sam and Brooke had a crush on at one point. And I just loved the show. I loved that it was both funny and serious. And Mike Damas, who I mentioned earlier from Teen Angel, he was in a couple of episodes that really moved me. Harrison got cancer at one point, and he was like another cancer patient there with Harrison, and he ended up passing away, so it was just kind of like very touching. So I love this show, and I was so disappointed that it was canceled. Again, just like how I think that My So-Called Life was ahead of its time, I think this was a little ahead of its time too. I think that My So-Called Life kind of paved the way for Party of Five and Dawson's Creek. And even though Party of Five came out the same year as My So-Called Life, I'm pretty sure that it kind of took a few years to get to its height of popularity. So maybe it just had a better time slot and the producers believed in it more, and it eventually rose to something huge. Obviously, it was on for I think 6 seasons. And it was so famous. Nev Campbell was in it, Scott Wolf, just people who were really famous. And the same thing with Popular, even though by the late 90s, Dawson's Creek was dealing with a lot of serious subject matter and was very popular. Dawson's Creek had a whole different style of writing. Popular had Ryan Murphy's special way of writing, and I think maybe the world just wasn't ready for it or didn't quite understand it yet. But I own the show on DVD, and it holds a very, very special place in my heart. So did you watch that show back in the day? Have you heard of it? Have you seen it? Let me know in the comments. So please let me know if you like any of these shows and what you thought of them. And if not, what are some of your favorite forgotten shows from the 90s? And I think I'll definitely do another video in the future with more shows because I love walks down memory lane and I love the 90s so much. So let me know all that stuff in the comments, and please give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Bye.